right, welcome to one I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I am right now. This is the 2023 Toyota Crown. Yes, that's right. The Crown is back in the United States for the first time since, I believe, the mid-50s, maybe the 60s. I'm gonna have to fact check that because I don't normally fact check. But it is back even though most of the rest of the world has enjoyed it for quite a long time. In fact, the Crown name has been around for 70 years through 15 generations of vehicle. It's an important car to the automaker, and they want it to be important now to the US buying public. So what the hell is it? The Crown is a full-size premium sedan that comes standard with all-wheel drive in all trims, and it is a hybrid in all trims, though not all trims are alike. The XLE and Limited are the standard hybrid setup. They make 236 horsepower. They do an amazing 41 miles per gallon in combined driving. Hold on, there's a down tree in the road. That's all well and good, but the one you're going to care about is the one I'm in right now. This is the Hybrid Max Platinum. This one gets a different hybrid setup with a turbo 4-cylinder under the hood, and now we're dealing with 340 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. We don't have a regular CVT like you would expect from a hybrid either. We've got a 6-speed automatic with no torque converter and a wet clutch setup. You've also got an electric motor on the rear axle that does at least a constant 30% of the available torque to the rear, and it can send as much as 80% out back. So the driving dynamics are better than you would come into this thinking. Since it sits 4 inches higher than a Camry, it looks like a pseudo blend of a crossover and sedan, and that's what Toyota wants you to think. They call it an elevated sedan, and the whole reason for that is that it does make a statement, it has presence, and then on top of that, it's easy to get in and out of, which makes sense for the people who are gonna buy this thing. You're not falling down into it like a regular sedan, you're not climbing up into it like you would with a larger crossover. Now back to the actual driving dynamics though. We've got adaptive suspension, we've got different drive modes. I have it in Sport Plus right now. I'm turning down, it's getting warm out, so I'm turning down the AC. See, there we go, much better. And I will say that these roads here outside of Nashville, Tennessee are in decent shape. So I can't tell you if that's just because of the suspension of the roads here, but the suspension is comfortable. This corner's a bit flatter than you'd expect for something that weighs 4,300 pounds, but there's still some body roll. But it handles much better than I thought, and I do believe it's because of that constant bit of torque going rearward. Now this is not rear biased or anything of the sort, but to have some torque going back there makes for a better driving experience. You can't really feel anything through the steering wheel, of course, but you can't feel that in most modern cars anymore. You just kind of give it a vague sense of where you want it to go, make sure it's pointing that way, and then you can give it some throttle. It gets up and goes decently too for a 4,300 pound car. Toyota quotes a 0 to 60 time of 5.7 seconds, and I believe it. And anything under 6 is still decent. You know, today's modern era, everything is crazy quick, but for like regular cars, anything under 6 is more than acceptable. But it's comfortable inside. I've got a good view of the road ahead of me. Like I said, the biggest surprise here is that it's a bit more enjoyable to drive than I would have expected. I could do with better brake feel. It has that traditional hybrid brake feel. But this, for the people who are gonna drive it, they're not gonna drive it hard enough for it to matter. But I'm not bored on this road, and I gotta be honest, I expected to roll into this being like, okay, let's go. And I'm happy to report that I'm wrong. Now on to the price. I said 3 trims. XLE starts in the high 30s. The Limited is in the mid 40s, and then this Platinum is in the low 50s. So it's not cheap, but it does feel nicely equipped. It does feel premium. It is knocking on the door of the Lexus side of the family, and I would argue that this is probably a more interesting option than someone who is going to just get a Lexus ES. I don't love the Lexus ES. I think the Lexus ES is boring. Honestly, if you were going to buy a Lexus ES, you should really just get an Acura, but this is more interesting than the Lexus ES on the Toyota side of the family. So if you don't need the badge, get this one instead if you want to stay in that side of the world, in that neck of the woods. A lot of people like to have brand loyalty. I mean, I know people who just, they don't even think when they buy the car, they go, okay, there's a new Corolla out, that's what I want. I want a Corolla, I'm gonna get the new Corolla. I have to assume it's the same for Highlanders, for Camrys, for stuff like that. So for those people who might have been like, I want something a bit more now, this is the proper step up.